We're here with Shannon, Jake's mom. And for the people that don't know who Jake is, Shannon's going to explain who Jake is and what this case is all about. Your turn.
My turn. Jake is my son. He passed away March 2nd, 2012. It was a Friday, and he had gone to someone's house. There was a boy that wanted to look at a gun that he had. He bought and sold guns a lot. He liked them, antiques and not antiques. And he took the gun over there to show this gentleman that wanted to possibly buy the gun. And I guess it was about 9:45 at night. My husband got a phone call, and all I know is he said something happened to Jake. Stay here with Ella, who is Jake's daughter. And he left. And 10 minutes later, I got a call from the Erie County Sheriff, the sheriff that we know. He wanted to know where Mike was going because he had pulled him over going 80 miles an hour. And so I told him the location. I didn't know the address. I didn't know the road. And it wasn't until around 11 o'clock that I found out that Jake had been shot in the head and had passed away. I don't know what
Did the police do any investigating, or did the coroner come out to the house where this took place?
No, there were Sandusky County police there. They didn't call any detectives in. The coroner didn't come to the scene, didn't view Jake's body. They questioned the witnesses. I don't believe they were separated immediately. And the witnesses all stated that Jake just put the gun to his head and pulled the trigger, and I guess we were in shock, and we just thought it was an accident. We knew he wasn't suicidal, and it wasn't until we went to make the funeral arrangements that we were told that he was shot behind the left ear, left side of his head. And we were shocked because Jake was right-handed, so that's what started to question, was this really what happened? And we contacted the sheriff's department and had many questions, and they did sit down with us a few times and answer our questions, but more questions just kept popping up, and it was maybe a month. It was probably 2 weeks after Jake died that we contacted them with our questions immediately, and a month after he died, they basically told us they weren't going to do anything else and the case was closed. So we went to our friend Dan McGookie, who's an attorney, and asked him if he could help us because they wouldn't communicate with us anymore. And he took on the case thinking it would be an easy fix, and he'd make a phone call or write an email, and he did that. We did that for a few months. I sent an email, I called with no reply. anytime. Was there no reply?
Out of Sandusky County,
From
correct?
Sandusky County. From the prosecutor's office or the sheriff's office, there was no return calls, no reply to emails. It was miserable.
What made you guys contact Dr. Wecht about doing an autopsy? Who directed you to Dr. Wecht?
Well, our attorney Dan kept pushing us. You need to have an autopsy done, and that's one of the reasons we kept contacting the county, was to ask them to please do an autopsy. And again, there was no reply. Dan kept pushing us to have one done, and it was a very painful decision. The thought of having to dig Jake up and have that done was just very painful. But we, nothing else was happening, and we were at a roadblock, and we knew it was our only option. So we called Ohio State University Medical College, thinking that they would have someone there that could do it. And they said at this point we need a forensic pathologist, and they recommended Dr. Cheryl Wecht from Pittsburgh. So that's why we contacted Dr. Wecht.
And was Jake have any training in guns, or he was never careless with guns? But
No, he was never careless with them. Kept them locked up in a gun safe. He had classes. He used to shoot with our neighbor all the time, and Rick would always say what a sharp kid. He was very sharp with his knowledge of guns, and he was very careful and cautious.
And he did take the concealed weapons class, but he couldn't have his license because he was not 21
Right,
yet.
right.
And for people who didn't know Jake, the supporters that were gaining on Facebook and Twitter, can you tell people what Jake was like?
He was funny. He had a strange sense of humor. I always used to say, like a Woody Allen sense of humor. You either got it or you didn't. And he loved to make people laugh. That's the first thing that sticks out in my mind.
And he was a good dad.
He was a very good dad. And he was very generous to a fault with gifts for people. Too generous.
And with Mike DeWine's office in investigating this, and a second pathologist saying that it was a homicide, do you think the AG's office, with all the facts that came in, will see that it was not an accidental suicide like Dr. Wilkie said out of Sandusky County?
Yes, I do believe that. Plain and simple, it was an accident. And I'm confident that that's what's gonna come of this.
Cool. That's what I wanted.
Okay.